Hi, guys. This is Greg Collins with the Substitute Teachers Lounge podcast. This is a video that I didn't actually intend to record, but it just so happens that our last podcast episode was entitled Kahoot is Not Just a Game Anymore. And that has proven so popular that it's going to be one of our top 5 episodes over the last couple of years. We've had 30,000 downloads over that time, and I think this episode's definitely going to be one of our top 5. So I thought I would make this as a companion piece. It is directed at 2 different groups of people. The first, and I hope to make a few of you mad, but you can stick with whatever you want to do. I'm out to show the Quizlet and the Quizizz folks that Kahoot is better. I am out to show those of you that just want to learn the basics about Kahoot, how to get to that point. But probably the most important thing that I'm going to show you is how to get away from all those paper tests, how easy it is to put those tests onto Kahoot and have your test run that way. Now, some of you are already thinking that about problems that you may run into when you do your test on Kahoot. And I'm going to show you how probably everything you're thinking about is only because you haven't checked the right box or you haven't set it up in the correct way. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share screen, and let me show you first of all how Kahoot gets a bad rap, man. We're going to just go to a basic Google search screen. Now watch what happened. If I just start typing in Kahoot, well, the first thing that comes up, it says Kahoot video game. Now, automatically when you see video game, as popular as video games are, that turns off a lot of the teachers. They're going to say, well, Kahoot is nothing more than a big competition that the kids don't take seriously. I hope to disprove that as we go on, but I've already got myself logged in over here on this screen. I do upgrade only because there's some cool stuff that I like to use that I would bet 90% of you don't really have a big need for. So I would understand if you didn't want to go to the upgrade now button. Be careful when you first get into Kahoot. You're probably going to get a pop-up window that shows you different prices, but always click on the free one. Click on the free and that will go away. For some reason, people have in their minds that Kahoot has now gone to a pay-only program, and that's not true. Now, for you basic people, let me first of all say to my Quizizz and Quizlet people, I have used all 3. Granted, I use Kahoot first, so that might be one of the reasons why I like it so much. I like the colors. I like everything about it, the way it's set up, the whimsical view, if you want it to be that way, the way it's set up. And when I ask people that say they like Quizlet and Quizizz better, or if they just say, I don't like Kahoot, and I make them be specific, I don't let them just give me a blanket statement. Every reason that they come up with, Kahoot actually has. So I haven't come up with a reason yet as to why to like Quizlet or Quizizz more than Kahoot. But you'll see here, you can click the discover button and just look for other Kahoots that people have created and agreed to make those public. You can see which are the most popular. Let me just click on that real quickly. A lot of Disney-based things that Disney puts on here themselves that can teach all these different topics there. You can go to a library and it will sort it by the ones you've used most recently, the drafts you've started. You don't have to complete a test when you first get into it. You'll see some of the things that I taught last year. So I'm going to go back out from that. We're going to finish right with this guy right here, eventually reports, because that is how you're going to streamline your paper test. But for just the basics, all you got to do is click this create button. That's going to bring you to this. I want to point out that you've got lots of different templates you could use. You can teach with slides. You can use that one. That is similar to the Quizlet flip cards. If so, this has the same version as that. Everybody knows about formative assessment now. You see that there. Introduce new topics with a blind Kahoot. practice spelling and adjectives with a puzzle, get to know your teacher. If you're a substitute teacher, I would encourage you to create one of those, because how many classes have you been to where you had like 10 minutes left over at the end? That's a perfect way for them to get to know you. And then a student selfie Kahoot. So there's lots of templates you can borrow, or most of the time you're just going to click your own. I would give it a title up here. You'll see when you click the title screen, you're going to type in a title. You're going to type in a description if you want to. Kahoot will create a folder for you that says My Kahoots that will be easy to find, but you can change that into another folder if you want. We won't get into branding and all that kind of thing. You can make a lobby video so that when students are typing in their PIN number, you can make it a specific video rather than have the canned video that Kahoot provides for you. You've got choice of languages here. Most people make their Kahoot public because they think it's kind of cool to see how many more people will listen to that. As I turn off my ringtone here. And then, or you can make it private so that only those that have your link can use it. One shortcoming with Kahoot, when you click lobby music, it's got several choices, but to be quite honest, I wish one of those choices is none, and that none choice is not there. So if you don't want music playing, you're going to have to play around with the volume on your own computer or whatever you're using. You do that, you start typing your question. Right here is where you can insert a picture. You can click the plus and upload your own picture. You can take pictures right off of the internet. Watch out for your legalities there. And then Kahoot has their own set of pictures that you can borrow from. You click that there, you start typing your question there. Your answers are down there. We'll go over here to the right-hand side in just a moment. I want to point out, if I click to start typing a question, you'll see this informational bar come up. And especially for those of you that are in math, I use this quite often. There's a subscript, there's an exponent here. There's a way, if you click that, to be able to type those characters too. One limitation that I'm not crazy about Kahoot about is it is limited to 120 characters per question. So sometimes, like the class I'm in right now teaching is a biomedical class, and there's some questions that just by their nature have to be a little bit longer than that. So that is one of the fallacies. You could get around by typing it into a Word document and then inserting that as your picture. You could do it that way. Look over here, though. You've got quiz questions. You can make it true, false. You can make it where they type the answer. The puzzle, I've used this for chronological events. They have to put them in order. You can collect opinions if you're not really doing a bona fide Kahoot right now. But all that is available over on that side. Let's close that window. Let's talk time limits a minute. You're going to have choices of anywhere from 20 seconds to 4 minutes. Now, if you're going to design a test on Kahoot, and the way you want to do that is to flash up one question at a time, have the students answer the question while they're looking at it, and then move on. Set that at 4 minutes so that they don't get all stressed out about how much time they have. And in fact, when we end this, I'm actually going to tell you what I prefer to do more than that. And that doesn't involve a time limit at all. So I'll show you that here in just a moment. You can set that on 4 minutes. Of course, if everybody in the room answers it in 30 seconds, it scrolls to the next question. Now, the good thing about Kahoot is once one question is finished and they show the results, well, you move on to the next question. They can't change their answer, but they do know whether or not they got it right. So with the Kahoot test, they don't have to wait for their teacher to score their test. They will know at the end, if they're keeping track of it, what their scores were. Now, points. If you're doing a normal Kahoot and you're just in the room to both learn some things, but let them be competitive as well, you would use either standard or double points, and then it will show a ranking. If you're going to use for Kahoot for a test, you really need to click no points. That way, they can't tell what their scores are compared to somebody else's. It will show a ranking, but they'll all be tied with 0, no points. So make sure you click no points when you're giving a test. We'll put that there. And then that way they don't have any comparison with the other students. Then finally, I'm going to mention one more shortcoming here that I'm not crazy about. You've got a single select option, which is what you use for most. But if you do have a question that has more than one answer and you want them to get both of those answers right, you can click multi-select. That is part of the premium package, by the way, and they have to get both of them right. Now, I will say there are some questions that if they don't get both of them, if they don't pick both of the correct answers, if they only pick one of them, I want them to be half right. Kahoot will count the question wrong. And in that case, you would have to go back in if you chose to give them half credit. So pay attention to your settings over here. If you're going to do a test, set it on 4 minutes. And also make sure you've got no points checked on this side. Once you finish question 1, you just click adding questions. You could add a slide for informational purposes in there if you want it. And if you've got several questions in a row that are very similar, maybe you just have to change a word here and there. Maybe all the answers are the same, except for question 1, it might be A. For question 2, it might be D, something to that effect. You can click your duplicate button here and it will copy that question to the next one. So you could also, if you get to a question and you don't like it, you can click the trash button. So you can actually create your test that easily. But one thing that I wanted to show you that is really good for the test, I'm going to go back into my library. I'm on the drafts tab right now. I'm going to go back into my library and show you a quiz that I set up last year. This is for scale factor. I'm going to choose that one. We'll go ahead and click that. We'll go over to here. Most of you know this, but I'll just remind, if you pull up somebody else's test that you might want to give, you can click show answers, and just to familiarize yourself, make sure you're comfortable with all the answers listed for the test. And then when you actually want your kids to play it, if you're playing the way that I told you to set it on 4 minutes, you just click the play button, you click teach, and the versions you're going to end up with is your Kahoot is now loading. You can do either classic or team mode. I'm going to click off of that because the final thing I want to show you today is how you can create that paper test. I've done it on my iPhone even while I was watching a football game. I've created a test with the lady whose class I'm teaching right now. She had a PDF version of the paper test. I opened that and I simply copied and pasted her question into the question in Kahoot, did it all that way, had it done in a 20 question test done in about 40 minutes, and we were good to go. But here's what I would recommend you do for your students if you really want to give them a test. When you click play, instead of clicking teach, click assign. You'll go into that. You want them to complete it before when. Set a deadline. Now, keep in mind that whatever deadline you set, that is the drop dead deadline. So if you have any late people, absent people that come in after the deadline, they won't be able to get to this with that link. You can set up a new challenge for them. In fact, maybe you just want to call it absent challenge or something like that. This is where you set your deadline. They have till that long to take it. Options. I wish this question timer would default to off, because if you accidentally leave it on, then it is going to use whatever timer you set up when you design that test. But if you just click the button and turn it off, they no longer have time. You're going to create a link here in just a moment, and you're going to copy and paste that link into whatever source you use. The majority of you are using Google Classroom, so you can click that link, can load it into their assignment. They click it. If they click that link, they actually no longer need a PIN number, so it makes it really convenient. So It says I'm going to create this for September 9th. That's 3 days away. They have to turn it in by by noon, 12 p.m. I click create, and all of a sudden I'm good to go. It tells me that I have created a report on scale, or I'm sorry, a test on scale factor. I was looking ahead. We're going to look at reports. And here's the link right here. It does give you the PAN number, but if they're logged in correctly, you will copy this URL, then you'll go over to your Google Classroom. I'll just show you a peek at my Google Classroom. What I would do is to go into one of these classes. I'll click this one. Hopefully I'm not going to show you any names here. I'm going to set up an assignment. And what I would do is click it right there, load the proper number of points, and give it a title. You can go ahead and put your due date in here as well, but the due date that's really going to matter is going to be the one here. I'll click the button for add link. I'll paste my link right in there. And that link now looks like this. It does say, for some strange reason, enter your game pin here. But once they click that, they are in the test. And they have until that deadline to finish that test. What I would recommend, if you're having them do it in a classroom situation, tell them that you want them to be finished by the end of the class. And you can look at the report and tell whether they finished or not in time. There's also a button right here. You can either end now and change the deadline if you choose to do that. The final thing I will show you, the greatest part about it, I'm going to click reports here. And I don't want to really click anything that's going to give away information or students' names. But what I might do is click this one. This is a Bible trivia thing that I put together for a youth rally at one time. And I know most of the names that we have on there are sort of made up. They're just fictitious names. Here's all the stuff you'll see. You'll see it was well played. You'll see that overall the class got 80% of the questions correct. You'll see the number of questions you had in there. You'll see the questions that proved to be difficult. But now this is the one I just played around with. So there was only 2 players. We actually did this for another podcast. It shows you how many questions. You can click that button, go to the question, and it will tell you which of the questions were marked correctly. It will show you the players if you want to do that. And the greatest thing is when you click these players, look what you got here. You've got correct answers and you are ready to load these percentages right into Infinite Campus or whatever you want to try or whatever you need to load to put your questions in there. So the reports are really great. It will show you, if you got a question that was missed by 90% of the students, maybe that's a question you want to reconsider. Maybe it was worded funny. If they got to know it, they got to know it, understood. But if it was worded funny, or maybe we didn't explain it well, this is a good report to let you do that. So that's the way you would put a test on Kahoot. That's basically what I wanted to show you today, how easy it was. I want to make sure that you guys realize that Kahoot is not just a game. It can be used for just about every faction of your class that you need it, from testing all the way down to the fun, get acquainted stuff and the classroom. Just, if you go over notes on Monday and Tuesday, throw a Kahoot in there for them to have fun with those notes on Wednesday. And what the heck, when Friday comes and they've worked hard, maybe pick out one about superheroes and let them have some fun for about 10 minutes. So that's it. Again, this is a companion video for the latest episode of Substitute Teachers Lounge podcast. We'd love for you to join us. It's on every podcast platform. We have a Facebook group that goes along with that. That's actually also called Substitute Teachers Lounge. So I hope that was informative, and we will see you guys soon.